Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon when you're watching this video lecture. Today let us discuss about the topic of overheads under absorption costing method. We don't have to separately think about this absorption costing and all. Normally costing is always absorption costing only, wherein there are some predetermined overhead rates and which are absorbed into the cost of production and other costs using those predetermined rates. So the application of this concept of overheads we would have already done at many places. So what is the objective of this particular chapter is to identify different types of overheads, and most importantly the objective or the main purpose of this topic is distribution of overheads. So what is this distribution of overheads? It is basically the process of allocation, apportionment and reapportionment of overheads that is required, particularly of production overheads. As far as administrative overheads and selling and distribution overheads are there, those are straightforward. There will be collection of various expenses in the form of administrative or selling and distribution overheads, and they can be just pooled at one place, and they can be taken usually at actual expenditure incurred basis. That does not mean there will not be absorption in those areas, but that is a choice of the organization normally, whether they want to use predetermined rates or actual recording of overheads when it comes to administrative overheads and selling and distribution overheads. So that is not the focus area actually here. As far as this topic of overheads is concerned, majorly the focus area is production overheads. And production overheads or manufacturing overheads or factory overheads or works overheads, whatever we call them, will have to be taken into consideration in the cost of production. We know that. But basically the overheads themselves are those which could not be identified directly with the production process. If they were directly identifiable, then those become direct expenses only, like materials and labor. There is direct materials, direct labor. Anyway, there is no problem in that because those are directly identifiable. Since certain expenses are not directly identifiable with the production process, we are calling it overheads in the first place. So what happens about these type of expenses which are incurred over and above the direct material cost and direct labor cost? There will be indirect materials, there will be indirect labor expenses. Also, there could be some other expenses which are not directly related to the production process or not directly attributable to the production process, though they have a relationship with the production process. Just to take an example, say factory is there which is involved in the production process, and there is a watchman to the factory, and that watchman is paid salary. Should it be part of the cost of production or not? Should it be also part of the production overheads or not? Definitely yes, because that is also having some contribution to the production process, though it is not direct. But another problem comes. Imagine this factory has multiple products being manufactured or multiple departments which are there. Then how the salary of the watchman has to be attributed to each of those departments or products? That becomes a challenge, because the watchman is rendering services to entire factory, but within the factory there may be many products or many departments, or we can simply call them many cost centers. How the cost of this salary of watchman to be attributed to those cost centers? That's a challenge, and that is the challenge we are going to address here, in which we will allocate the overheads to a particular product or department or a cost center if it is possible to identify. If not, we will have to apportion the overheads to the departments on some appropriate basis. What is the appropriate basis? Depends upon the information that is available. And then not only that, we have to reapportion the overheads of service departments to the production departments. So here we have to keep in mind, service departments do not mean we are looking at office or administrative overheads. No. There are service departments which are not directly involved in the production process, but still they are not doing any production, but overall production process is assisted by them or served by them. And whenever we use the word department here, that can be replaced with any different product. A lot of organizations have verticals for each of the products that they manufacture. For example, Apple has multiple verticals. There is iPhone separate, iPad separate, and MacBook separate verticals are there. Verticals in the sense different product. Each product there is a cost center. Each product there is a almost kind of profit center and a responsibility center. So we have to understand it all depends upon actual reality of a particular organization. We cannot standardize or stabilize in one way that, oh, I want the problem in this way only, and it is not going to happen. Whatever the case that is presented to us, we have to just respond to that accordingly. But conceptually, we should understand very clearly whenever we are using the word department, that could be replaced with a product, because each product may be a department in some type of organizations, like Apple as an example we have taken. Or sometimes as a generic word, best word actually to use is each cost center, though that much level of technical words we don't use every time. So simply what we call it as department. So there are production departments and there are service departments. Let us say a particular organization has a production department P1 and P2, and there is a canteen in the factory. That is a service department. Is canteen doing any production directly which this factory is manufacturing? No. Canteen is producing food. That is different process. This factory is not for manufacturing food. Let us say this is a pencil manufacturing factory in which there is a canteen. But is that canteen also useful for all the workers in the production department 1 and 2? Yes. It is there, definitely. So what we should do? Is there any expenditure related to canteen or not? Yes, there is. So should it be part of production overheads or not? Yes, it is. It should be. Though it is not directly relatable to P1 and P2. That is why we are calling it overheads first of all. If we could directly relate, we don't have an issue. It is neither direct material nor direct labor. It is something which is over and above direct material and direct labor. And it is not even attributable to each of the departments also separately, because workers from both departments will go to canteen and eat. So what the problem comes? So how to get this service department costs allocated to or apportioned to these production departments? That is called reapportionment. These are the things we are going to deal with when we look at distribution of overheads. So simply speaking, this topic or chapter is going to focus on how the distribution of overheads should happen. Of course, on some reasonable basis, appropriate basis, or whatever the basis that is given in the question, or whatever the data that is available in the question, on the basis of that only this distribution should happen. There is a primary distribution and secondary distribution. This apportionment is called primary distribution, reapportionment is called secondary distribution of overheads. It is basically an arithmetic exercise than any complicated process. It is not. But main point is, in the examinations it is one of the most important and favorite questions. And another important point is it takes time in the examination. It kills a lot of time because a lot of clerical calculations are involved. One calculation mistake can cause the entire solution to be wrong. So risks are there here. So while approaching this chapter of overheads, one point I would like to draw all of your attention towards is you have to put pen on paper and solve these questions. And you have to solve them very accurately as much fast as possible. Then only this question can be actually answered in the examination within the allotted time or appropriate time. So that is the challenge actually as far as this topic and questions from this topic are concerned when it comes to distribution of overheads. And computation of overhead rates is a small topic. Different types of overhead rates can be calculated. There could be labor hour rate, there could be machine hour rate, there could be recovery of overheads as a percentage of materials or as a percentage of direct labor or as a percentage of prime cost. Many types of possibilities are there how the overhead rates are predetermined on different bases. And this is nothing new to us. We did the same in the job costing also. Using whatever the basis given in the question, we just applied them there. Now we'll also understand how to create those rates or calculate the rates. And as far as this discussion is concerned, main aspect from examination point of view is the computation of machine hour rate. That is a very important aspect here from the examination point of view. That is machine hour rate. That is going to be also important point, and questions can be asked on that also. So at a broader level, these are the two types of questions that can be asked. But there is one more topic also which is a small one but still possible to be asked, that is under absorption and over absorption of overheads, how that should be treated in the cost accounts or how that should have to be dealt with. So at a broader level, we can only classify this topic from examination point of view as three different concepts than models. One is distribution of overheads, second one is computation of machine hour rate, because all other overheads rates are so simple to calculate, there is nothing special about them, but particularly machine hour rate, separate questions can be asked on that front. Same way, treatment of under or over absorption of overheads is another problem that can be expected from this chapter. Some concepts related to capacity also are theoretically discussed in this topic. That is the overview of this chapter, that is overheads. And as we already should know, overheads are those expenses incurred over and above the direct materials and direct labor. Anything other than direct materials, direct labor and direct expenses are overheads. So naturally these are all indirect expenses, that is for sure. And we already know the classification of these overheads: factory overheads, office and administration overheads, selling and distribution overheads. That is a classification that can be done on the basis of function or on the basis of nature. We can also classify the overheads into fixed overheads, variable overheads, semi-variable overheads. We know that already. Or as part of various elements, we can classify the overheads as indirect materials, indirect labor or indirect expenses. Or by control, these can be classified as controllable and uncontrollable overheads. So all these things are basic concepts which we discussed in the initial introduction to the cost accounting subject itself. Now moving on to the process that is involved in this entire manufacturing overheads collection and treatment, how that is going to actually happen. And as I said already, our focus is definitely going to be more on manufacturing overheads than other types of overheads as far as this chapter is concerned. That does not in any way mean that other overheads are useless or we don't even care about them, but major focus is on manufacturing overheads for sure. So manufacturing overheads definitely have to be absorbed over the cost of production. And what procedure should be followed in this entire process of absorption, because we are talking about this as absorption costing. That is absorption costing. What is absorption costing? Separately, it is nothing. It is the method wherein we are absorbing the overheads on some predetermined basis. How are we going to do that? For that purpose, we should first understand, why do we need a predetermined rate of overheads? We need it because we cannot exactly incur the overheads and then see what is the actual cost all the times. Most of the times it so happens that we need the approximate cost of the product before even manufacturing the product. There you cannot say, first let me incur the expenses, then I will see how much will it cost. then actual costs only I will take, and then I will add my profit and fix the selling price and let you know. All these things are not possible. You have to fix the selling price beforehand, even before starting the production itself. How do you do that? Without knowing the cost? Not possible. While knowing the cost, very simple. Definitely direct materials and direct labor are visible straight into the product. How much material is required, almost more or less there is a known fact. How much labor is required to manufacture one unit on a broader basis is a known fact. What is the only unknown factor? Which is indirect expenses or overheads. That is the reason, rather than actually incurring the overheads and taking them into cost accounts, we will have a predetermined rate of overheads and use that rate for absorbing the overheads into the cost of production. That is the process of absorption. Then how do you determine in advance, even without incurring? Do we have some magical powers so that we can predict how much the overheads will be in future? Not possible. Nobody has that magical powers. So what we have to do? We have to take the past experience into consideration. Simply. First we have to do is, first of all, we have to estimate what are going to be the manufacturing overheads on the basis of past figures. On the basis of past figures only, on the basis of our existing past knowledge only, we can create something about future. Of course, if there are any known changes that might happen in future, we have to do those adjustments. That means we have to first of all collect all the data that is available about the manufacturing overheads which we incur normally. Already we know that. And that could result from different invoices or stores requisitions, wage analysis book, journal entries, actual transactions that happened in the past. Whatever could be the source. That is the headache of the real life overhead rate determining people. For us, this will be given in the question. Whatever the actual manufacturing overheads are incurred in the past, they have to be definitely identified first, estimate and collect. Then after estimating and collecting, we need to assign the manufacturing overheads. That is the main point. So while assigning the manufacturing overheads, we have to understand 2 points. One is the cause and effect. Cause means the process or operation or activity, and the effect is the incurrence of the cost. Means which process or which operation is causing the cost. If we just elaborate this a little bit, that becomes activity based costing. Cause is the activity, effect is the cost that activity incurs, and that is exactly the extension of this overheads chapter. So activity based costing takes cause and effect into consideration in a more detailed manner. We are not going to do that much. It will be given in the question. What is the cause and effect? And benefit involved will have to be taken into consideration on the basis of actual benefits received by each of the departments, let us say, or cost centers. Just to take an example, for say same example let us take. Say there is a generator that is power generator. It has certain cost and we want to have an apportionment of the cost of this operation of generator to 3 different cost centers, A, B, C, X, Y, Z, whatever they are. So what could be the basis? Just like that equally we will apportion them? That doesn't make sense. That should be on the basis of actual usage. Which of these department has actually used the electricity that is generated from this generator? There will be some meter for that. Maybe there is some measurement for that, but that all requires technical things. We cannot do that. That will be there in the question. That will be given in the question. But what all we need to do is, what is causing this cost is definitely the electric generator, and who has received the benefit is 3 different departments. And according to the amount of the benefit that they have received, the cost has to be apportioned among those departments. That's all. That is all that we need to do here. That is the next thing. Of course, once we are able to do that, that can be considered as actual identification of the cost straight away. But that is not going to be in one step. It is not going to be just in one step. It is going to be in multiple steps. Those are the steps we were looking at earlier. First thing first is allocation, then apportionment, then reapportionment. So what is allocation? Allocation happens where we can assign the cost to a cost object or a cost center which can be traced. Don't take this word directly too literally. If it is direct expenses, then it will not be overhead at all. We will not be even talking about it. It is an overhead. But at least we know that it is belonging to certain particular department. Let us take another example. Let us say the same factory has 3 departments, as you said. Each of them has a separate watchman. Each of them has a separate watchman. So, do we have to apportion the salary of watchman separately? Is there any requirement of apportionment? No need, because whatever the salary of watchman of this department is, that is allocated to that department. Whatever is the salary of watchman of this department is allocated to that, and same with the third department. So, you can trace at least. You can trace this expenditure is related to that department. Enough. If that is possible, then we call it as cost allocation. Let us say another example as given. Let us say separate meter is given for each department. Means you know how much power bill is there. Electricity company itself has given us separate meters for each department. So where is the need to apportion there? No need to apportion. Each department has a separate meter. So there is no point of apportionment. Directly you can allocate it to each department according to the consumption of that department, taking the meter reading. So like that, cost allocation is something where we have to identify certain overheads only, but we can trace them with a particular cost object or a cost center or a department or a product, as the case may be. But on the contrary, let us say the salary of works manager is there. He might be managing 3-4 departments. Can we say that it is all salary related to one department? No, because he is looking after the entire factory. So their allocation will not work. So naturally what we have to do? We have to go to the next step. That is where we have to use cost apportionment. Apportionment has to be done on what basis? Allocation happens where we can trace a particular cost with a cost object. Apportionment happens where we cannot trace a particular cost with a cost object, but we have to do this apportionment on some appropriate basis. There is nothing that we can tell, oh, this is the appropriate basis, or I will bear the appropriate basis, or that is not going to happen. Simply, all that we need to do as far as apportionment is concerned, on some appropriate basis they have to be apportioned. Whatever that appropriate basis may be. That depends upon the situation, depends upon the data that is available. So that is the main point to be noted. Second step, apportionment. Third step is reapportionment. What is this reapportionment? Reapportionment is that where the costs of the service departments are reapportioned to the production departments. So within a factory only, once again, within a factory, there are production departments also, service departments also. So what we are doing in this step of reapportionment, we are reapportioning the total costs of service departments to production departments. That process is called as reapportionment. So the process of assigning the service department overheads to the production departments is called as reassignment or reapportionment. We can use another names also here. Allocation is allocation. That will be generally given in the question because we cannot go to factory and see them. So a cost allocation is not something that we do actually. That will be given in the question. What we have to do arithmetically is one, that is apportionment, that we have to do on some appropriate basis, whatever that basis may be. And reapportionment is something also that we have to do. So what is apportionment is also called as primary distribution of overheads. Reapportionment is called as secondary distribution of overheads. That is distribution of overheads, simply speaking. Okay, we did all this. So what? Finally, what happened? We have the total overhead cost related to particular production departments. That has to be absorbed. Absorbed how? Again, on the basis that is decided by the organization. That could be as a percentage of direct material, percentage of direct labor, percentage of prime cost, machine hour rate, labor hour rate. Any type of method can be chosen by the organization according to whatever the method they choose. That absorption rate is calculated, and the process of recovering the overheads or absorbing the overheads into any other cost center from its output is called as recovery or absorption, that we know. And we know this also already. Variable manufacturing overheads have to be absorbed on the basis of actual production. Fixed manufacturing overheads have to be absorbed on the basis of normal capacity. That is another point to be noted. We discussed this separately. We know this, nothing new other than accounting standard 2 also suggests the same. Because variable manufacturing overhead, actual also, original also, per unit will be same more or less. Fixed manufacturing absorption is the main point. That is where the rate of fixed manufacturing overhead absorption has to be calculated on the basis of normal capacity. In other words, budgeted fixed overheads divided by budgeted capacity will give us overhead rate. that should be applied to the actual production for absorbing fixed manufacturing overhead. So that is the next step, that is absorption, which we do or did also in many cases earlier, including job costing type of scenarios, or even in the understanding of variances for overheads, we used the absorption concept. In understanding marginal costing versus absorption costing also, we used this absorption concept. So that is not some big deal. Calculating that rate is a big deal. That is what we are doing here now. The next thing already we did. We are going backwards actually. We are doing now how that rate is determined, that overhead rate, whatever we have already. In some questions we got earlier, variable manufacturing overhead is 2 rupees per unit, fixed manufacturing overheads are 1 lakh, and normal capacity is 50,000 units. Like that data is given. How that 2 rupees has come, how that fixed manufacturing overheads number has come, that came from the past experience. So how the recovery rates or absorption rates are calculated, that is what we are going to focus in this chapter. So after the absorption rates are calculated and really the overheads are absorbed, naturally there will be under absorption or over absorption. And as the name itself indicates, if the actual overheads are more than the absorbed overheads, that means it was as a result of under absorption. If the actual overheads are less than the absorbed overheads, that means there was already a over absorption. That has to be adjusted. How? We will see that also in this chapter. These are the various things or steps at a broader level that we are supposed to follow and understand, particularly as an overall comprehensive process of overheads, rate determination, absorption and treatment of under or over absorbed overheads. These are the points to be noted. And in the ICA material there are certain basis of apportionment given for different types of overhead cost. I want you to just go through them, but don't try to by heart them, or don't try to be rigid that, oh, I will do like this only. That will not work. Depends on the data. So usually rent and other building expenses will have to be apportioned on the basis of floor area, or sometimes on the basis of volume or production level of activity. Same with lighting and heating. That can be even apportioned on the basis of floor area. Sometimes if light points are given, that could be the apportionment basis. Like that fire precaution service, air conditioning. So many costs and overheads could be there, which have to be apportioned on some appropriate basis. So this is the process of apportionment. Reapportionment is altogether different. That is a more of a mathematical or arithmetic process. Apportionment requires common sense. Apportionment requires data to be observed, and we need to take a judgment on how this particular expense has to be apportioned on what basis. For example, the perquisites or labor welfare expenses, timekeeping, personal office, supervision, all of them can be apportioned on the basis of number of workers if it is available. Same way, some other labor benefits can be apportioned on the basis of direct wages. That is also possible. General overheads can be apportioned on any basis. It could be on the basis of direct labor hour or machine hour or direct wages. Depreciation of the plant and machinery or insurance of the plant and machinery or repairs and maintenance can be apportioned on the basis of the values of those plant and machinery. Power or steam consumption, transportation, managerial salaries can be done on the basis of technical estimates. Lighting expenses can be either on the basis of area or on the basis of light points or metered units. Electric power. So this is one more point. This is where a lot of times people do mistake. Power, electric power is actually on the basis of machine operation. See, electricity is different, power is different. Not that really they are different, both are same. But when you say electricity, usually that is a word used in office type of atmosphere. Power, when it is generally used in the factory environment. Again, no hard and fast rules. Please don't make rules of yourselves and stick to some rigid propositions or assumptions. I'm just giving a general idea about what generally it means. Not necessarily always it is the same. So power is that which is used by machines. So what should be the basis for that? That could be the horsepower of the machines, or number of the machine hours, or values of the machines, or units consumed, as the case may be. But usually this is the best basis for that. Horsepower multiplied with the hours of actual usage. So we can call that as HP hours. Just for understanding purposes, not that it has direct relevance in factory environment. Imagine you have an air conditioner. There are 2-star, 3-star, 5-star, different types of air conditioners, right? And horsepower is, let us say, is one of the indicators which tells us how much electricity consumption it will actually have. If let us say there is one type of machine with some horsepower of 6 and another machine is there with a horsepower of, let us say, 12. So should we just apportion the cost of this electricity in the ratio of 1:2? Is that appropriate? It would be when there is no data more. But it is not actually appropriate. Why? Because maybe this 6 horsepower machine was running for 20 hours a day. Or maybe this 12 horsepower machine is only running for 2 hours a day. So now tell me, is 1:2 correct cost apportionment? No, because the 6 horsepower machine was actually using more electricity than the one which is having a 12 HP. So instead of taking only hours or instead of taking only horsepower, what is a better basis is HP hours. So that is one more point which we can use in many problems that we encounter. So that is one thing. If available data, if data is available, electric power which is used by machines, the best basis for that would be horsepower hours. Same way, material handling stores overhead can be on the basis of number of stores requisitions, weight of material, volume of material, value of materials, whatever it is. So according to the data available, again if you see, there is no hard and fast rule on the method of apportionment. Any type of basis can be used, but main point is it should be appropriate basis. Apportionment has to happen on appropriate basis. Sir, what is appropriate basis? How would we know? We should know by observing the fact or data in the question. That is what is our skill that is expected in this. If we cannot know that, that means we cannot solve the problems in this chapter, as simple as that. So various types of bases are there which are given. I don't want you to actually by heart any of these things, but you should know them, because theory questions also can be asked. 5 marks questions are asked. What is the appropriate basis for apportionment of so and so cost? Such type of questions theoretically also can be asked. So generally go through them, broadly remember them. Don't try to make it a rigid memory, or don't try to make a framework of your own, and don't search for the data that you want in the question. Use the data that is given in the question in an appropriate manner. That is the definite application of brain that is required in this chapter. We cannot have any standardized type of questions or answers. But yes, don't worry too much. More or less, the kind of costs will be similar. We are not going to find some extraordinarily different new types of costs in any question. So once you practice many number of questions, different types of questions, then automatically you will be able to use similar knowledge and experience in the main exam also. That is about apportionment. And as I said, allocation is not something that we do. It will be given in the question already. Apportionment is something that we should do according to an appropriate basis, and all those data related to that will be given in the question. Then the next main process is reapportionment. And what is reapportionment? That is also called secondary distribution of overheads, which is nothing but costs of service department expenses being reapportioned over the production departments. Here there are many possible methods. One is direct redistribution method. Second one is step method or non-reciprocal method. Or third one is reciprocal services method. These are conceptually to be understood, and we have to use once again the method that is asked in the question, not according to our whims and fancies. We need to see the question, read it carefully, which type of situation exists in that question. Let me once again reiterate, overheads and activity based costing, these two chapters are the actual costing. In other words, these are the crux of costing, we can say. One way, the real life situations will be more observed, particularly from a manufacturing point of view in these two chapters. If you bring service type of organizations also, that becomes service costing. These 3 chapters will easily get 20 marks. And if our common sense works properly, if we have core concepts of costing strong, we know everything, nothing new here. We know what is material cost, what is labor cost, what are various types of costs that could be incurred, and how they have to be apportioned. That will be given in the question. All that we need to do is apply the brain. So these topics, I am repeating once again, overheads and activity based costing and service costing. These 3 put together easily will get 20 marks, sometimes even 30 marks. That much important all these 3 are. But only good news about all these three things is it all requires common sense. And the bad news is we cannot expect any model, or we cannot have any standard type of question always. So no structure for the questions can be assumed beforehand. So that is why these three are challenging topics, very much scoring in the main examination. And once again, that is the reason why we have to learn them. We have to be actually able to do these things at a level after we already are comfortable with many other things in the casting. We know many things in the casting already. Now it will be easier for us to apply our brain and knowledge that we already acquired into these topics. So keeping that in mind, we have to apply the method that is asked in the question according to the data that is available. So what are the concepts here? Three things which are there as methods of reapportionment. Direct redistribution method, what it says? It says straight away service department costs are reapportioned to production departments. Just for example, let us say there is P1, P2, P3. Three production departments are there. S1, S2, two service departments are there. So S1 cost is apportioned to P1, P2, P3. On what basis? Already they know that. They will tell us. All that we need to do is some multiplication. Simple proportions and apportioning that cost. Same way S2 cost is also going to be apportioned to all the three production departments. That's all. There ends the matter. So it is definitely not going to be a very possible question, because there is nothing in that. All that you need to do is some multiplication. So direct redistribution method will not consider the services of one service department to another service department. No, it is not considering that. Only the service department costs are going to be apportioned among the production departments. So ignoring if any services rendered by one service department to another service department. Let us say some other service department is also there within the factory which uses canteen also. So definitely some portion of canteen cost should be apportioned to that service department, logically speaking. But this method ignores that. This method ignores any service that is given by one service department to another service department, and automatically the entire cost of all service departments is directly redistributed to only production departments. So one shot calculation, done deal. Then the second method is different, that is non-reciprocal method. Non-reciprocal, as the name indicates, for example, S1 renders some services to S2. That is recognized. One way it is recognized. S2 also renders service to S1. That is reality. But in this method, we don't recognize that. Means we recognize only one-way service. Non-reciprocal. That is called step method also. Why is it called step method? We'll see that visually when we actually do the problems, because when the apportionment happens and the numbers are all written in a table format, the visual looks like a step, like steps. So it is called step method or non-reciprocal method, wherein services rendered by one service department to other are recognized, but vice versa is ignored. That is what is step method or non-reciprocal method. Once again, this is also a pure, of course all of them are arithmetic applications only. Nothing great here. It is all about calculations. But concept is important, because which method we are using depends upon what is the assumption under that method. Direct redistribution assumes that no services are rendered by one service department to other. Non-reciprocal method assumes that one service department renders some services to the other one, but not vice versa. Whereas reality is definitely that there will be reciprocal services. Naturally, in practice, there will be reciprocal services. In other words, S1 renders services to S2. S2 also renders services to S1. So some portion of the cost of S1 should be apportioned to S2 and vice versa. So we have to recognize reciprocal services. Then naturally there is a loop here. Why? Because S1 cost is apportioned to S2 and S2 cost is apportioned to S1, still something remains in S1, again that has to be apportioned to all P1, P2, P3 and S2, so there is no end for it. So what is the way to break this loop in the reciprocal services method? There are three further ways of doing it. One is the simultaneous equations method, which is algebraic in nature. We'll do that. Trial and error method is another method. Repeated distribution method is the easiest or arithmetically easiest method, but takes lot of time. Simultaneous equations method takes less time, but definitely it requires basic algebra. It's not going to be a complicated algebra. All that you need to do is you have to develop two equations and solve them. I think we can do that. Definitely anybody can just frame couple of equations and solve them. Solving couple of normal equations should not be a big deal, but still if we have a problem with that, we can use other methods like trial and error method and repeated distribution method. But problem once again is, in examinations any of them can be asked. You cannot say I don't know algebra, I cannot solve two equations. If simultaneous equations method is explicitly asked in the examination, what will you do? You have to solve it. So don't try to leave any of them. You have to be equipped with the capacity and knowledge of solving any question using any method according to the information given in the question, once again, not according to what we want and what we can. So that is what exactly is this chapter all about. Overheads chapter is mostly about this process of reapportionment. Once again, allocation, apportionment, reapportionment. Allocation we are not going to do. Apportionment we have to do if the data is available on an appropriate basis. Reapportionment we have to do using any of the bases, whether it is a direct redistribution or a non-reciprocal redistribution, or reciprocal distribution itself can be done in three different ways: simultaneous equations method, or even trial and error method, or let us say repeated distribution method. Any of them can be used. That is the crux of this chapter in a nutshell, we can say. Now let us start solving some of the questions, but as I said, these are the things that you should do on paper with the calculator. More practice is going to be useful for you, since time and accuracy both are equally important here. You should be able to solve them quickly also, at the same time accurately also. Let me remind once again, all these three topics are very good, interesting, and they will be requiring our application of brain and attention while calculating the things accurately. But at the same time, they will take time. They will be lengthy questions, definitely. Not small questions like marginal costing. These questions will be definitely very lengthy, but we just should not be unnecessarily threatened by the size of the question. Size of the question could be too long, but answer will not be that long. Even if the answer is long also, we have to do that. We have to approach it with such confidence. For that, what matters is how to read the question. As simple as that. How to read the question is important. I want in this way only, I want in that way only, questions should come like this. No, it will not happen in costing, unfortunately. By now, you should know that. So let us go through the questions with very open mind. Each question is new, each question is fresh. Like that only we have to approach. That is the best way of answering all these questions. Not just in this chapter, ABC also is like that. Service costing is also like that. So all these three we can say as a bunch of topics that we are going to discuss in the coming classes. Now let us look at illustration 1. Excel Limited has 3 production departments and 4 service departments. Expenses for these departments as per primary distribution summary are given as follows. Okay. A, B, C production departments are there. Stores, timekeeping and accounts, power, canteen, 4 service departments are there. Okay. The following information is also available in respect of the production departments A, B and C. Okay. Horsepower of the machines was 300, 300, 200. So that is one thing. Number of workers is given. Value of the store's requisition in rupees is also given. This is the data that is useful as a basis of apportionment. It has no other reason. Mainly the costs are where, these are the costs. This data related to departments about horsepower. Horsepower, is it rupees? No, it is not. It has nothing to do with our data. This is only useful for appropriate basis. Number of workers is also some other statistical data which is useful to be used as an appropriate basis. Value of stores requisition is also something which is useful as an appropriate basis. That has nothing to do with original costs that we already have. So what do we need to do here? Prepare a statement apportioning the costs of service departments over the production departments. That is the question. So what kind of method we can say this is? This is a direct redistribution, because we are not looking at what one service department is rendering some service to other service department. Only all the service departments are rendering services to production departments ABC only. Right? So here, look at the points. Service department costs are there, stores is there. What could be the appropriate basis? Stores cost overall is 4 lakhs. That is the service department cost 4 lakhs. On what basis we can apportion that to ABC? Actually, reapportion. Whenever I am using the word apportionment, you have to understand according to the context. By the way, these three are different things. Allocation is different, apportionment is different, reapportionment is different. We are now doing reapportionment. But let me also give a disclaimer. By usage, I may say allocation sometimes, apportionment sometimes. That does not make any difference. What we are doing, we should know. What are we doing now here in this question? That is reapportionment. How do we know that? Because we are going to apportion the costs of service departments to production department. That's what reapportionment is all about. That's what we are going to do. On what basis? According to the data that is given, whatever it is. What is the basis here we can use for stores? Can we use this as a basis? Looks good. Value of stores requisitions? Yes. So what ratio it can be apportioned in? 2.5 is to 1.5 is to 1. So apportion that. Same way. Timekeeping and accounts. Timekeeping and accounts. Timekeeping and all is related to whom? For whom you will keep the time? Workers. So what could be the basis? Number of workers could be the basis. That we have to identify. Nobody will tell that. We need to identify. Number of workers is better basis for apportioning this cost. Same way, value of stores requisitions is the best basis for apportioning this cost. What about power? Sir, you said horsepower hours are the best one. But it is not there, what should I do? Sir, if it is not there, what we can do? If that is not there, we use only horsepower. Depending upon the information, always. Not rigid formats or formulae or what we by heart matter when we solve these questions. So this 1,60,000 can be apportioned on what ratio? 3 is to 3 is to 2. Simple. Canteen. Canteen, how can we apportion? You have to think. Horsepower machines will have, machines will eat something in the canteen or what? No, people will eat. So, better basis is, once again, number of workers for apportioning the canteen expenses to production departments A, B and C. Then you may say, practically C department people may be not so physically active, A department may require lot of physical work, so they will eat more, B people will eat less, C people eat less. Possible? Nothing wrong in that thought. But do you have data? If you have data, definitely yes. Any minute detailed data can be used for cost apportionments, reapportionments, etc. That everything depends upon the availability of data, not according to our whims and fancies. But because we don't have to have the capacity to go really and check, whatever the data is there in front of us given in the question, we just use that. Simply arithmetic exercise that we are going to do. Let us do this particular arithmetic exercise in a quick manner. So what is the original cost of these production departments? A, B and C. A, B, C. 3 departments are there. Original costs are originally there anyway. They will not go anywhere. 30 lakhs, 26 lakhs, 24 lakhs. We have to first take them. 30 lakhs, 26 and 24. Right? So that is the original cost of A, B and C. Total 80 lakhs. If for all these questions you may have a total also. That is preferable actually in all cases. Make sure you have a habit of this writing total in all questions of overheads, ideally speaking. So that is the total 80 lakhs which is given. Now service department cost has to be apportioned one by one. So we have stores there, we have timekeeping and accounts, we have power and canteen. Expenses, these are all different departments having different expenses. First you write totals, because 4 lakhs, 3 lakhs, 1,60,000 and 1 lakh. Okay, 4 lakhs, 3 lakhs, 1,60,000 and 1 lakh. That is the total of these things. So how to apportion each of these things? Stores. Now we have this ratio according to the value of stores requisition in rupees. So 2.5 is to 1.5 is to 1. Total of that will be 5. So whatever it is, total of this into 2.5 by 5 into 1.5 by 5 into 1 by 5. Total always you check. Total should be 4 lakhs. Correct. That is stores. Done. 3 lakhs timekeeping and accounts. What is the best basis? Timekeeping and accounts, number of workers. So that is 2 is to 1.5 is to 1.5. Again divided by 5 is common, but numerator is different. So total whatever it is into 2 by 5, 20 by 50 you can say, 2 by 5, 1.5 divided by 5, and same for C also. Total always you check, 3 lakhs, but you have to do it on calculator by the way. Same way power. Power, horsepower is the best basis from the information that is available. So 3 is to 3 is to 2. So divided by 8 into 3. 3 by 8. 3 by 8. Another 3 by 8. And 2 by 8. 3 is to 3 is to 2. That is the ratio in which this 1,60,000 is apportioned to ABC. Total should be 1,60,000. Canteen 1 lakh, again better basis is the number of workers. So same basis can be followed. 40,000. 30,000. 30,000. Actually it is easier, we don't need to do all that also. It is what? Number of workers is 4 is to 3 is to 3, right? 1 lakh is easily apportioned into 40,000, 30,000, 30,000. That's all we have. Now you can have the totals. 34 lakhs, 20,000, 29 lakhs and 26 lakhs, 40,000. The total of all this, always make sure you have a control on the arithmetical accuracy. Totals of all the calculations always should match. 89 lakhs, 60,000. That is the final total cost which has been apportioned to department A, B and C. Now the stores, all the other service departments do not have any costs in them. All those are reapportioned to production departments A, B and C. Now that itself we can understand how to calculate machine hours, machine hour rate. Let us say if there are machine hours also given here, if they are given, then all that we need to do is whatever the cost that we have calculated so far on these each of the departments divided by the number of machine hours, we get machine hour rate. So what is machine hour rate is nothing but overheads divided by machine hours. That's what is machine hour rate. Same logic applies to others also. Any other type of overhead recovery mechanism can be applied in that way. So the point of how we have to calculate and do this apportionment and reapportionment depends upon the data that is available. So in this particular illustration 1, Primary distribution already done. Already ABC departments have their costs. After the primary distribution, what we did was secondary distribution. Which method we used is direct redistribution method. So final answer is 89,60,000 total, 34,20, 29 and 26,40,000 for each of the departments respectively. Now, next method let us apply. Non-reciprocal method or step method. Step method or non-reciprocal method means one service department renders some services to the other, but not vice versa. But not vice versa. So that is how the situation is there in the case of non-reciprocal method. So let us take a situation in this case. Expenses of two production departments in illustration 2. Production departments are there, which are A and B. Two service departments X and Y are there. But look at the data available. That itself shows X cost 2 lakhs, but that is going to be apportioned to Y also, A also, B also. But Y cost 1,50,000 is not going to be apportioned to X. Nothing is there. X column itself is not there. That means what? This is a non-reciprocal method. But this 1,50,000 should be apportioned to whom? A and B in the ratio of 4:6 or 40%, 60%. A and B anyway are the production departments. They have original cost of 3 lakhs and 3,20,000. So how to do this distribution? Very simple. Already the data is available. So let us take Y here as a service department and then we'll see. First A and B has how much cost? 3 lakhs and 3,20,000. That is the original cost of A and B. Now, let us take the cost of Y separately. Now, Y X cost let us take. Then we can take Y cost also, whatever it is. So, what is the question here? X total cost is how much? X total cost is 2 lakhs. That is total. And according to the question, it should be given to. Actually, Y also has original cost of how much? 1,50,000. That can be taken here. That is original cost. So, but that Y 1,50,000 is also there. But X cost, department X, which is a service department, that cost has to be apportioned to Y also, A also, B also. So, 25%, 40%, 35% into 25%. 40, 35. Okay. Now, total of 2 lakhs is apportioned like that. 50,000 to A, 80,000 to B, 70,000 to Y. Now, main point is this Y total cost is now 2,20,000. Isn't it? This 2,20,000 should not stay. Why? Because it is also a service department. We need the costs of only production departments. That is where the redistribution is happening now in a non-reciprocal way. X cost was apportioned to Y. Now, Y cost will not be apportioned to X. It will be apportioned only to A and B in the ratio of 40 and 60%. Of course, it will be the total of here. So this 2,20,000 has to be apportioned in 40% and 60% basis. Total of this should be 0 naturally. Why? Because we have taken out this cost of Y. So this is total 0 and the total cost is finally 9,70,000. That was given in the question itself. If you just total the 4 things which are there, X, Y, A, B, total of all this is how much? 2 plus 1.5, 3.5, 6.5, 9.7. That is the total which should match. And this 970 is finally apportioned in what ratio here? What amounts? 438 and 532. That is the final answer. 4,38,000 and what is this? Okay. I think we did some Y25, 25, 40, 35. I think we took the sequence wrong here. Okay, no problem. Let us just change that. This is 25. This is 25 to Y. A is 40, B is 35. A is 40, B is 35. We just took blindly the sequence, but we have not taken YAB, we took ABY. So we have to change that accordingly. No problem. So final answer will be this. So instead of 2,20,000, I have to just apportion 2 lakhs. 9,70,000 is guaranteed, but final answer is now what? 4,60,000 to A and 5,10,000 to B. So original cost of Y has been original cost of X has been apportioned to A, B and Y in the ratio of 40%, 35% and 25%. So that sequence, we missed it. It should be carefully taken in the same sequence, or whatever the sequence we take, we have to take the percentages carefully. So 40%, 35%, 25% are the ratio between A, B and Y, in which the cost of X were reapportioned, and the cost of Y, which was total of 2 lakhs already, is reapportioned to A and B in the ratio of 40% and 60%. Finally, the total cost of A and B departments is 4,60,000 and 5,10,000 respectively. Total should be matched, that is 9,70,000. So this is a non-reciprocal method or step method, we can call it. One service department rendering services to other, but not vice versa. In other words, the cost of one service department is reapportioned to another service department, but not vice versa. That is non-reciprocal method. Now, reciprocal services method recognize the reciprocity of the services between the service departments also. They should be given due weight also. The interdepartmental services among service departments have to be given due weight under reciprocal service method. But how to break this? There can be 3 methods which can be used within this. Either simultaneous equations method can be used, trial and error method can be used, or a repeated distribution method also can be used. We should be able to calculate by any method according to whatever is asked in the question. Now come to this illustration number 3. Service department expenses are like this. Boiler house and pump room, these are the 2 service departments. Costs are 3,60,000 respectively. The allocation is like this. The costs of the boiler house are going to be given to A and B, which are production departments, and 5% of the costs of boiler house has to be given to pump room also. That means pump room is also using 5% of the cost services of boiler house. Same way, pump room cost has to be allocated to, or apportioned to, or reapportioned to, whatever it is. I am not going to use it every time. If I say allocated, that means apportionment only. That has to be distributed, let us say. Distributed to A, B and boiler house. So, there is boiler house cost which should be distributed to pump room. There should be pump room cost which should be distributed to boiler house. There is a reciprocity of services between these 2 service departments. How? We can break this loop. Now we are using simultaneous equations method. So simultaneous equations method is simply nothing but we have to come with a relationship here. So let us just for example say boiler house is B for our simplicity purposes. Pump room is P. Okay. X, Y, A, B, whatever you can take, P, Q according to your convenience, no problem. But just boiler house, pump room we are taking. Okay. So what is the total cost of boiler house normally? We have to Identify that. So what should be the total cost of boiler house? That B should be equal to what? It should be anyway 3 lakhs because it has its own cost of 3 lakhs. Plus it should get how much of the pump room's cost also. You have to be careful here. Where boiler house is getting the cost, that you should take, not where it is giving the cost. Boiler house is giving the cost to pump room, that will not be part of the boiler house's cost, that will be part of the pump room cost. Where boiler house is getting the cost from pump room. So how much of pump room cost is apportioned to the boiler house? 50%. So we can say 0.5 P, isn't it? So what is the total cost of boiler house finally, if at all, we have to take is 3 lakhs plus 0.5 P. Same way we can develop another equation. What is the pump room cost? Original cost is anyway there 60,000, that is there, plus it is getting 5% of the boiler house's cost also, but boiler house cost was B, so 0.05 B. This development of equations is the main point. Once you have developed this, solve those equations, you will get how much is P, how much is B. Automatically we will get that. So solve this on paper, you will get these things. So what is the equation that we have taken here? B is equal to 3 lakhs plus 0.5 P. P is equal to 60,000 plus 0.05 B. Solve these equations on paper. Then you get P as 76,923 and naturally B will be 3,38,462. Okay. Now what should we do with this? They have to be given to A and B. But main point here again to note, in what ratio we have to do? We should not take the ratios here. We should take the percentages, because whatever the B is, that is after adding the pump room's expenses also. So whatever the total B we got, that is after adding 5% of the pump room's expenses also, which should not be the case. So what should we take? Only 95% should be apportioned, not 100%. So 95% of the B has to be apportioned in what ratio? 60% and 35% ratio. So whatever this B we computed, which was 338,462, that should be distributed in the ratio of 60 and 35 percentages. Then you get 2,03,077 and 118,462. So that is the distribution of B. Pump room expense, that is P, which we already calculated as 76,923. That should be given. How much should be given? Only to A and B. Not even entire 100%. It should not be. Only 50% should be. Why? Because the remaining 50% already went to B, which we already apportioned. So what should be the ratio of apportionment here? Only 10% and 40%. Once again I am repeating, ratios are different, percentages are different. That differentiation has to be made very clearly. What we got, B and P are not their expenses alone. They are representing their expenses plus a portion of the expenses of the other service department also, which should not be part of the production department. So when we have this B and P, they have to be apportioned on the basis of the percentages. Make sure you are apportioning percentages when you use the simultaneous equation method rather than just ratios. If you try to do 60:35 or 10:40, that will be different. It is not going to be the same amounts. 10%, 40%, 60%, 35%. That has to be used. So even if percentages are not given, if some numbers are given, better to try to convert them to percentages and then apportion. Usually percentages only will be given. So directly use those percentages which are other than the percentages of the costs of other service departments. So whatever B it is, whatever the amount of B it is, that should be given 60% of that to A, 35% of that to B, that's all. Remaining 5% is already given to P, which we know in the form of P. So that 5% should be ignored. Same way, whatever P is there, in that 10% only should be given to A, 40% only should be given to B, because the remaining 50% already went to B. It was already part of B, which we already apportioned. So these percentages should be ignored while applying final apportionment calculations after we get B and P in this case, or after we get the comprehensive costs of the service departments, including the proportion of the other service department costs as given in the question. That is the simultaneous equations method, which is more popular, and definitely we can take this example as one of the crucial things in applying the simultaneous equations method. But once you do these calculations on paper, the totals you should always match. Even if there is 1 or 2 rupees difference, try to round them so that the total is matching. So the total of expenses which are apportioned between or among A and B is ultimately 3,60,000 only. That is our job. We wanted to distribute 3,60,000, that's what we did. Total should match. By chance or by mistake, if you don't take percentages but take some ratios like 1:4 directly, then probably that will be a problem. Because when you say 1:4, you are apportioning the entire 76,923 in the ratio of 1:4. That is not the case. You should apportion only 50% of that in the ratio of 1:4. Then it is okay. So rather than doing all that, simply what you can do is, whenever simultaneous equations method is applied, once you found out the comprehensive costs of each of the service departments, including the allocated costs from other service departments or distributed costs from other service departments, which is more than its original cost, naturally. Originally B was only 3 lakhs, but now we got B how much? 338,462, which was including some portion from P also. So that has to be, whatever that 3,38,462 or 76,923 in this case, have to be apportioned using percentage basis. That is the main point, and that has to be applied carefully. If we don't do it correctly, arithmetically, what happens? Total will not match. That will tell us. Automatically we will come to know somewhere we did some mistake. That is the reason always I suggest, particularly in this overheads chapter, totals should match. ABC also. Overheads and activity based costing, totals should match. That checkpoint you have to keep while doing the calculations. That is about simultaneous equations method. You should develop these equations first using the relationship given in the question. But main point again, in developing relationships also, people will take the cost that one department is giving to other department. No, you should take the cost that other department is giving to this department. So B is equal to 3 lakhs plus 0.5 P, not 0.05 P. That is a point to be noted. How much B is getting from P, that should be part of B. How much P is getting from B, that should be part of P, but not the otherwise. So developing this equation is important from the data, and solving it and then redistributing it, the total cost using percentages is important. All these precautions have to be taken while solving the questions under that method. Otherwise, naturally, sometimes the accuracy could be in trouble, and that will definitely cost us marks. So be careful in that. Now moving on to the second method here, that is trial and error method. See, trial and error method is nothing like a special great method or something, but only point is we need to just take the costs of one service department first and take all of that to the other service departments in one shot, and then do the reverse mechanism once again. More or less like simultaneous equations method only, but we don't do it simultaneously, we do it on a trial and error basis. But why we are calling it as trial and error basis? We can take as x first then distribute to y, or we can take y first then distribute to x. Any of them can be taken. So that is why we call it as trial and error method. But for that is a latter step. In the sense, last step actually, that is a secondary distribution. But this question illustration 4 requires Looks like primary distribution also. Look at this question. Sans Limited is a manufacturing company having 3 production departments, A, B, C, and 2 service departments, X and Y. So this question itself is different here, definitely. So there are A, B, C, X and Y. These many departments are there. Okay. A, B, C are production departments, X and Y are service departments. First and foremost point, by looking at this data itself, this direct material and direct wages cost related to the production departments, so can we call this as overheads? Is that overheads by any means? How can it be overheads? It is not overheads. That is direct material, direct wages. So we are not bothered about it. We should first of all ignore that. But what about service departments? It is overheads because they are not going to remain later as service departments. We need to redistribute these costs back to the ABC. For that purpose, we have to start with them. So X, Y, direct material, direct wages cost should be taken into consideration because they are service departments. So what are those costs given in the question? 2 lakhs, 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 2 lakhs. Okay. So 2 lakhs, 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 2 lakhs. These are the direct material and direct wages. We should not take the direct material and direct wages for the other production departments at all. That doesn't make sense because those are not overheads. We want overheads here. But total, of course, can be taken always. Sum of all these things. You have to do on paper. So these are the 2 things which are to be taken related to the service departments, definitely. Now there is other things like factory rent, power, depreciation and other overheads. So let us first of all take them first. Factory rent, power, depreciation, other overheads. Okay, power, depreciation, other overheads. These are the costs. But total is given. We need to apportion them. That means we have to do a primary distribution. When we do primary distribution, we don't worry about service departments and all. We will do it for every department because the data is available for every department. So on what basis we can apportion them? Better basis we have to identify. Factory rent, on what basis we can apportion? Can we use area? Yes, that looks better. Then power can be apportioned. Here we have both machine hours and horsepower of machines, which means better to use HP hours, not just machine hours, not just horsepower. So better to use HP hours as we discussed earlier. Depreciation can be apportioned on the basis of what? Capital value of the assets. Other overheads can be apportioned on the basis of machine hours. Machine hour rate is okay. So these are the basis of apportionment that can be done at a primary distribution level. So allocation already happened. This 2 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 2 lakh is telling us what? That is allocation of various things to the service departments related to direct material, direct wages. Apportionment we are doing first. 4 lakhs, 2 lakhs 50,000, 1 lakh, 9 lakhs. These are the totals, right? First of all, 4 lakhs, 250, 1 lakh, 9 lakhs. These are the totals. Now we have to apportion to A, B, C, X, Y, all. On what basis? Area for factory rent. So 500, 250, 500, 250, 500. That is the area in square feet it is given. So let us just take total rather than wasting time on what should be ratio and all that. Finally what it is? Definitely it is total 2000 square feet. So 500, 250, 500, 250, 500. 2000 SFT. Okay. 2000 SFT has to be the denominator. So here this one divided by 2000 is guaranteed. That means 200 into what? This 500, 250, 500, 250, 500. So 500, 250, 500, 250, 500. So there are three places where there is 500. And this should be naturally half of that. That is 250. Total should match. What is the total? 4 lakhs. That's it. So that is distributed in the ratio of area occupied by each of the departments. Then let us take depreciation 1 lakh, the third one, on the basis of capital value of the assets. 2:4:2:1:1. So 6 plus 2, 8 plus 2 is 10. Okay. Divided by 10. So depreciation is 1 lakh. 10 divided by 10 means easy to apportion. So what will be the final answer here? 20,000, 40,000, 20, 10, 10. 20, 40, 20, 10, 10. That's it. That is a depreciation apportionment. Then HP hours we don't have. For that, let us first of all have a total HP hours calculation separately. Horsepower hours, 50 into 1000, that will be 50,000. This is HP hours. Only for basis, this has no other relevance. HP hours, 50,000 hours, and 2000 into 40. 80,000, and then also 80,000, 15,000, 25,000. Okay, 80,000, 15,000, 25,000. That can be observed here. 15,000, 25,000, 80,000. So HP hours, this is the ratio. So what is the total of them? Let us take it. Whatever is the total of all that, that is 2,50,000. That has no relevance except for apportioning the power cost. Good news is the power cost is also 2,50,000, right? So easy, directly we can get this. How much is the power cost? Same as this. So 50,000, 80,000, 80,000, 15,000, 25,000, total 2,50,000 is going to be the power cost distribution or redistribution. Then that is actually distribution only, not redistribution, or apportionment we can call it. Primary distribution we can call it. Then we have other overheads 9 lakhs. Other overheads 9 lakhs. What is a better basis to apportion? Maybe we can use machine hours as a basis. 1:2:4:1:1. So 3 plus 4, 7. 7 plus 1, 2 means 9. 9 is matching there. So definitely here also it is easy. 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, 4 lakhs, 1 lakh, 1 lakh. 2 lakhs, 4 lakhs, 1 lakh, 1 lakh. Total 9 lakhs. So other overheads are apportioned on the basis of only machine hours. Whereas power is apportioned on the basis of machine hours we multiplied with horsepowers of the machines. So that was the distribution or apportionment we can say. That's what happened already. So let us take a total at this point in time, whatever the total of all this is. So these are the totals. But now the problem is the totals of all the costs should match always. That is 22,50,000, correct. But the problem is XY service department's cost 475 and 535 should not be there. That should be reapportioned to A, B and C. That has to be done. Whatever basis it is, it has to be done. How? That is given here in the second data table that is available. So X cost has to be distributed to A, B, C and Y in this percentage 45, 15, 30 and 10. Whereas Y cost should be apportioned to A, B, C is not there, only X. Whatever is there, it is there. C is not there, means not there. Y is not rendering any services to C, what we can do. So this is the percentage of reapportionment of service department costs to production departments also and other service departments also, because we are talking about reciprocal method. Within that, which method is asked, that we have to do. What is asked here? Prepare a statement showing a distribution of overheads to various departments. Already we did that. Prepare a statement showing redistribution of service department expenses to the production departments using trial and error method. That is the question that is asked. So first portion already we did. That's what is the total, right? Total 270, 370, 6 lakhs, 475 and 535. Maybe the total they have taken is wrong. Is it correct? Here the totals they have not taken. So maybe that's fine. So this total cost of service departments has to be taken now, redistributed to production departments. But what are the costs of service departments? We know that 475,000 and 535,000. These two should not be there. How to redistribute them to A, B, C is the question. We can start with any one of them. Only taking service departments alone, we can do that. So let us take this service departments separately as a calculation, separate calculation let us do. That is a trial and error method we are using. I'm going to just hide this so that it is not disturbing every time. Okay. So separate calculation of 475 and 535 if we take. Any one thing we can start with. This is X, this is Y. You can start with X also, you can start with Y also. That is why it is trial and error method. So let us start with say X expenses to Y. Starting is anyway, okay. Anything can be started with. So how it is going to be apportioned? What basis it is going to be apportioned? X to Y. For that we have to refer to the question. X gives to Y how much of its expenses? 10%. Y gives how much of its expenses to X? 5%. So X to Y 10%, Y to X 5%. That we should remember. Now give 10% of X expenses to Y. How much is that going to be? 10% of 4,75,000, 47,500. Then take a total of that. 5,82,500 is Y cost now. Then this has to be, how much of that should come to X? 5% of that should come to X, 29,125, isn't it? And this one again, out of that there has to be another 10% of it going to Y, 2913. Again on that 5% should come to X. Again on that 10% should go to Y. There is no limit for it. Where we should stop? Somewhere we should stop where the amounts are very small. Let us say 5% of this is very small, as good as not even 1. So let us stop here itself. So what is this total now? That is 5,19,000. Is coming 5,04,000 only. Okay, that hidden row is having a problem now. Okay, so yeah, 5,04,271 is the total of X, and 5,35,000 once again, no, because the rows are different here. What should be there here? All these things should be there. 582,500 is the starting point. Already it is there. Original one 535 plus 47,500, 582 this plus 2913 plus let us say 15 also. So 585, 427 or something like that is there. But what is the total of these two? Total should match wherever there is. Total of 10,000 only should come. This is coming more definitely than that. If we stopped here itself, if you further went, it will be little bit more. No problem. So let us take these things. 5,04,271, 585, 427. Let us take as a continuous process here. So here, under trial and error method, we will not look at the production departments. Only we look at the service departments and take their total costs, starting from any one service department to other, apportion it to the other service department, and from that total, apportion to the original one, from that to the other one, from that to the original one, from that to the other one, till it reaches a small number. So here, these are the totals. Now, 504,271. 504,271 is the total that has to be apportioned here to A, B, C. Okay, 504,271. What we have taken, let us take that. 504,271. That is the total. Also, the next one, let us take 585, 427. Now, what is the basis here to be used for A, B, and C? Again, we have to go back to the question, and we have to use percentages. Remember, just like simultaneous equations method, here the overall cost of X and Y are more than what they have originally, because they have the cost of other departments also included in that. So we have to apportion in the percentages to A, B, and C. In what percentage to A, B, and C? 45%, 15, and 30. So 45%, 15, and 30. Total will not match because that includes the other things also. But here 504,271 has to be apportioned in that ratio. Same way, 585, 427 has to be given to whom? Only A and B in the percentages of 60%, 35%. So this gets 60 and 35. Only that much. C doesn't have any service from the service department Y. Okay. So let us take these things totaled. That's what exactly gives us the total cost of A, B, and C. Of course, there will be some mismatch. 1 rupee somewhere is missing. What is the total cost that is given originally? That is always something that you have to check with. What was total cost? 2 lakhs plus 1 lakh plus 1 lakh plus 2 lakhs plus 4 lakhs plus 250 plus 1 lakh plus 9 lakhs, which means the total is supposed to be, we know that 22 lakhs 50,000. Okay, I think these totals are wrong. What we have to take is, already we have taken the total, no? So double totaling we should not. 22 lakhs 50,000 is the total, and total of all this is, if you check, 22 lakhs 49,999, which means, let us take some plus 1 somewhere, anywhere, no problem, don't worry. So that is the adjustment of 1 or 2 rupees somewhere here you can do, but finally the total should match as 22 lakhs 50,000. Some rupee differences is not a problem, just make sure that is adjusted in any one of the departments. So final answer is this: 8 lakhs 48,000 something, 6 lakhs 50,000 something, 7 lakh 51,000 something. So that change is there here between A, B, and C. That is called as trial and error method, which is also part of the reciprocal services method. As I said already, because we have done one more 15, the number is different. That doesn't make any much problem, because total should match. That is 22 lakhs 50,000. And somewhere around the final answer, if it is, that is enough. So that is called the reciprocal method in that trial and error method, wherein we do this working note separately for only service departments. Simultaneous equations method is actually easier and quicker because you just frame some equations and solve them and then directly redistribute according to the percentages. This trial and error method takes little bit of more time, but if it is asked, we have to do that, no option. Okay. Now let us apply the third method, which is repeated distribution method. I think the same question is asked. There is nothing difference in this. Actually, illustration number 4 and illustration number 5 are having same question, just company name changed. Other data looks to be as it is same. Yeah. And mostly if we go to the final answer, then we can understand. 848 something, 650 something, 750 something, correct. So question is same. Let us use the same data for repeated distribution method. Okay. So repeated distribution method, let us use. Now it is a different story altogether. Naturally, primary distribution all will be same. Allocation is same. So 2 lakhs, 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 2 lakhs. Primary distribution of various things. What are these are all? What are all those things? One is factory rent. Second one is power, depreciation, other overheads, everything else. Till this point, it is the same. Till this point, it is the same. Nothing new. 22 lakh 50,000 is there. But the only thing now is 475, 535 have to be redistributed among themselves. This is clerically little bit more time-taking process, but still without any much of big brain work. We can just blindly keep on repeatedly distributing the cost of one department to another department. So what is the percentage given here? Simple. Whatever the cost of department X is there, that should be apportioned to A, B, C and Y in the ratio of 45%, 15, 30 and 10. So let us take X department first. X. This should be minus 475. Others should get this 475. So how the others will get this 475? 4,75,000 into 45, 15, 30, 10. Okay. 45, 15, 30, 10. 10 will go to Y, right? So what is the total? Naturally 0, because we took 1 minus and the other is distributed to others. Next what comes? This total 535 plus this 47,500, that should be distributed. Let us take minus of that so that it is clear. So minus 582 500, this total of two things in Y, that should be distributed to whom? A, B and X in the ratio of 60%, 35 and 5. 60, 35, 5. So let us take actual numbers. 582 500 into 60, 35. C gets nothing, but now X gets something. How much? 5%. Now total of this should be 0 if we did the correct calculation. Now what happened? Y became 0. Y became 0, but X has some 29,125. What to do with that? Same logic. Only difference is 29,125 is what is supposed to be used. So minus 29,125. Percentages we know already. Earlier what we used. 29,125. 29. Into 15% and 30%. That is easier. And story is not over. It goes a portion of that to Y also. How much? 10%. So now what is the problem? Total is 0, no problem. But Y left with some more cost. Again do repeated distribution in this 60, 35 and 5. So 2913 into 60%, 2913 into 35%. C gets nothing, but X gets something. How much? 5%. So 146 is there. We can stop there. This is minus 2913. So now Y is 0, but X has some positive. But we can just continue till it reaches a single digit, let us say. So now 146 is going to be given to A, B, C and Y. Y will get how much? 10% of that, which is less, 2 rupees almost. So let us give this 146 directly to A, B and C in this 45%, 15%, 30%, right? So let us give that 146. $45, 15, 30% actually. Let us give 40 because total should be 146. We gave 2 rupees extra maximum. Normally it should be 44. We gave something little bit more than that. So some 14 rupees extra we gave, no problem. So total is 146 we gave to A, B and C. So whatever it is, the small numbers, don't worry about them. So now what happened? This 146 is gone. So A, B, C have all the costs, but the total of all this for X and Y should be 0. It should be 0 ultimately. Small numbers, no problem, don't worry. So the total of all this is 0 or 1 is not a problem. So same way, the total here is 0. What is the total here? Let us take that. So that is the total now. What was the total we wanted? Same total we got. That is 22 lakhs 50,000, isn't it? So this 1 rupee, let us say here we take it out and this we take it out as 0 and 0. That's it. 22 lakhs 50,000 is the total we wanted to distribute to start with. We did that by repeated distribution method. How we did that? We took X cost first, gave it to A, B, C and Y. Took the total of Y's cost and gave it to A, B, C and X. Again took that cost, gave it to A, B, C and Y. Again took that cost in Y, gave it to A, B, C and X. Last time we just took the X cost and gave it to only ABC. We ignored Y because the amount is small. If you keep on doing it, there is no limit for it. It will keep on going in infinitely because 0.0000 something will come. That is none of our business. We don't have to do that. We have to stop somewhere. Where we are stopping? When the distribution actually comes to a small number. So let us say 10% of this comes to around 15 rupees, 14 rupees, which is okay. Not a big deal. So here the total costs are approximately coming to be this much. You can check that. 8,48,170 something, 650, 535 something, 751, 200 something. So more or less similar numbers. Total should match, that is important, 22 lakhs 50,000. But this question has asked machine hour rate also. Machine hour rate, how to calculate? Machine hour rate is nothing but overheads divided by number of machine hours. Number of machine hours we know 1000, 2000, 4000. Don't worry about XY. XY are gone. XY became zero cost now. Only we have to look at production departments. How much is the machine hours in the production departments in the question? 1000, 2000, 4000. So 1000, 2000, 4000. Then what is machine hour rate? Simply whatever the overhead cost divided by this number of machine hours. That will be the machine hour rate. So 848.17 something approximately. 325.27. 17 or 18 whatever. 325.27, 187.82. That is the machine hour rate. So now you can understand the overall process. So this problem is comprehensive, containing all the steps. Allocation already they gave, and we did not do anything. It is available already, whatever is there. But apportionment we did on appropriate basis, factory rent on the basis of area, power on the basis of HP hours, depreciation on the basis of values of machinery. Overheads we did used machine hours as a basis, other overheads. So apportionment we did. Then secondary distribution or reapportionment, for the same question we used two methods. More or less both of them will give same answer, by the way. Whichever method you use, whether you use simultaneous equation, trial and error, or repeated distribution, final answer will be more or less the same. Very minute differences will come, that is negligible. We should not even think about them, look at them, and do not waste time on those small amounts or rupees. So answer should be same in all the cases, with respect to the method that we use. So finally, after doing the repeated distribution, or after doing the secondary distribution using the repeated distribution method, in this case, we got the total cost or overhead cost of A, B and C. Divided by number of machine hours, we got the machine hour rate. So this is a predetermined rate which will be used. Imagine if there is a job which uses, say, 5 hours of machine A, 2 hours of machine B and 8 hours of machine C or department C. Or 5 hours of machine hours are actually worked on department A, 2 hours are actually worked in department B and 8 hours are going to be worked in department C for a particular job. So what we do? How to get the overhead cost? We cannot say let me work first and then I will tell. No, we just use this predetermined rate. What is the predetermined rate? We already know that. 848.17 into the number of hours whatever are actually worked. 848 is predetermined. 5 is reality. Whatever that is. Worked or at least projected to be worked or possible to be worked. That we know that. We cannot say I don't even know how many hours it will take. That is not possible. So multiply them. That is the overhead cost we have, other than the material cost and labor cost, which might be incurred anyway on that job. So how we absorb the overheads in the jobs or cost details is what we already know. But how the rate itself is determined, like this it is determined. So what are the steps involved here? Allocation, apportionment and reapportionment of overheads. All these steps we should understand well, and problems related to them have to be practiced very well also. Conceptually if you understand and if you practice on paper more, these are the, as I said, very simple things. Arithmetical questions, clerical calculations. Only thing where you have to apply your brain is basically the apportionment part. What is the appropriate basis to be used for the distribution or primary distribution is where you have to use your brain a little bit. Other things are all clerical in nature. But care has to be taken for accuracy, and as I said, these things will take time. So how to reduce the time period? Only way, increase the speed. How to increase the speed? Only way, practice. That has to be done on paper. That is important point. Now after this, what are the various methods that are used for absorbing the overheads? Most of them we already know, nothing special. Overheads can be absorbed on percentage of direct materials. How to get that? If at all we want a overhead rate, whatever the overhead cost that is determined or estimated, divided by the direct material cost into 100, you get percentage of direct material recovery rate. Apply this rate on the direct materials when you absorb that later. Same way, overheads can be calculated on the basis of percentage of prime cost. There also numerator is always the same. Numerator is overhead. What changes is denominator. In this case, denominator is what? Prime cost. Because it is percentage, multiply with 100. Percentage of direct labor cost. Same way. Overhead divided by direct labor cost into 100. Labor hour rate. It is not percentage. So overheads divided by number of labor hours. Machine hour rate. Just now we did. Overheads divided by number of machine hours. Even it can be absorbed on the basis of per unit. Then overheads divided by number of units. So any of these bases can be used for recovery of overheads, and percentage usage is there for majorly three things: percentage of materials, percentage of direct labor, percentage of prime cost. Or labor hour rate, machine hour rate, per unit rate, any of them can be used for recovery or absorption of overheads. This is the predetermined overhead rates determination and absorption basis determination. How is there actually absorbed? That happens later. That we did already actually. We absorbed overheads many times in different cases. But there the rate was already given. Now what we are doing is how that rate itself is calculated. Of course, in this, as I told already, machine hour rate calculation is very important. That we will discuss in the next session. And if at all there is any particular over absorption or under absorption of the overheads, how to treat that, that also we will discuss in the next session. And some more problems on the distribution, redistribution, computation of overhead absorption rates, application of the concept of overhead according to data that is given. Whatever the data is available, accordingly we have to just solve those questions. So we will solve such type of questions in the next session. And treatment of underabsorbed, overabsorbed also will, that's only just a theoretical discussion with a very small application based questions that we will discuss in the next session. Also some more questions on application once again of these concepts type of questions. We will discuss all of these things, but again this examination questions as far as this chapter is concerned will be mostly on this lines of distribution of overheads or computation of machine hour rate, that is also very important one, or under or over absorption of overheads treatment. Those all things will continue the discussion of them in the upcoming sessions. And then similar logic, if you apply a little bit more detailed manner, it becomes activity based costing. Activity based costing, though it is a separate chapter, logically, conceptually there is nothing big difference. Only thing is, in this chapter we know the basis. Somebody is telling us 35%, 40%, 10%. We are just using those percentages and applying on the calculators. Maybe in ABC we might have to find that percentage, nothing else. So all this is an extension of similar conceptual discussion, not same but similar discussion will be continued in the upcoming classes of overheads as well as APC. Till then, take care. Bye bye. Thank you very much.